Tunic is an isometric action-adventure game developed by Isometricorp Games and published by Finji, released in March of 2022. It's a Souls-like about exploring the world, solving different mysteries, killing enemies, killing bosses, and eventually figuring out what happened in the world that you've spawned into. Tunic is heavily inspired by games such as Dark Souls and Zelda, and it has one of the craziest overall long-term puzzles that I've ever seen in a game, where you're trying to solve a game guide that you've been given that is completely in a language that you can't understand, but you can piece together based on clues that they've given to you. It's an insanely good game, and I hope you'll enjoy joining me on the trip to get all of its achievements. The game begins with a nice little flyover of what'll be the central hub to our open world, and zooms in on a beach where we see a little fox sleeping that will turn out to be our player character. We move forward and find a little house with a mailbox with a language that we can't quite understand on it. We skip going into the house, then we find some enemies that we can't quite kill yet, and a little door that we also don't seem to have the key for. We keep moving along and we find a fox shrine that we can pray to, which will cause the day-night cycle to shift, and it's also our save function as well as a couple other things the further we get into the game. And we can press A on the big golden door here directly behind it to open up a seal with this red, green, and blue icon on it, which teleports us to a strange little spirit realm sort of area. We walk through the spirit realm and we find a bigger fox that seems to be trapped in some sort of light prism, the different colors, red, green, and blue, that we saw before on the door. The fox looks at us but can't seem to make its way to us, and above we see those same three colors, red, green, and blue, shine out in an interesting pattern above us. We come back to the real world, find the key to this door that we passed up before, and once we go inside, we find the first page of our journal that we need to try to fill out. This journal explains a couple things with the base game, and then we make our way to the first area of the game, the East Forest, where we enter and immediately see a lot of enemies. But that's not going to be a problem for long as we continue on and we find a chest that will give us our first achievement along with the first weapon that we can use in the game, the stick. We press on through the area and we find our first group of enemies that we can actually fight, but the stick isn't super great at dealing damage. But that won't be a problem for very long because we find another different little shrine where we find our second weapon, second achievement, the sword. We keep moving along and we find our first example of the game doing some kind of tricky perspective stuff where we can walk way beyond the bounds of the screen to find a chest. Then just a little bit beyond that, we get killed by a giant group of spiders and get to experience what our first death is like. We go back to the spirit realm and run back to the big fox. Fortunately, we don't have to do this every time, just on the first death. But fortunately enough, when we respawn, we get the achievement, What Just Happened. We return to enact some revenge on the spiders and accidentally get the achievement for performing a perfect combo. And we use this knowledge to run into the first boss area of the game against the guard captain, who we of course defeat easily. Defeating the guard captain lets us move to the completion of the first area of the East Forest, where we strike and ring a bell and get the achievement for doing so. And then we get to move back to the hub world where we find a note that actually has the map of the basic hub world that we've found ourselves spawned into. On our way back to the main area, we can unlock some shortcuts that make it easier to get back and forth between the area that we just cleared, because we will have to backtrack a little bit. And then we make our way up to the mountain pass, like we're going to fight Red. Fortunately though, for us, it's not Red that we find at the top, but instead another puzzle and another note that we don't quite understand yet. But then we make our way to another puzzle we don't understand yet, but at the base we find a magic wand. We find a windmill where a giant skeleton fox lives that can sell us some goodies. And then we accidentally get another achievement, lawnmower, for chopping down grass. After a little more exploring, we find a shortcut that leads us back behind the windmill that I never would have found without coming at it from this direction. This is another great example of one of those kind of visual puzzle tricks this game pulls. We go on to find a shield right next to that, and we also found a coin that we toss into a well based on a note that we found, which gives us another achievement, Nothing Happened. After a little bit more exploring, we find another one of these little upgrade cards that we can slot in our inventory, but we don't quite know what they do yet. There's no description. Then we find ourselves in the Dark Tomb, where it's way too dark for us to see any of the enemies, traps, or puzzles, so we have to backtrack. We do a little bit more exploring near our original area. You can see the windmill there in this shot, where we open up a bridge, and then we eventually are able to make our way to a note that we open and see some interesting items with what seem to be stats next to them. And it's really interesting because when we hold these items near one of the statues, the save points, we find we can actually offer them plus some of the coins that we've collected to give ourselves a little bit of a power upgrade, upping ourselves based on levels, which gives us another achievement for doing it the first time. We make our way down the ladder that we passed before into a little bit of a kind of sewer area beneath the well. Not too long before this, we found a map that actually dictates this as being the frog's domain. So we can continue to press on forward through here to hopefully find an item that'll help us progress in another area. Unfortunately, I was having some crashing issues with the game at this point. So you can see here 26 different parts I recorded this game in. And every other part is able to be pulled into the editing software here fine, except for the part where we finished this area for some reason. I think it's something to do with crashing. But we find the lantern that'll help us maneuver through that dark area in that. So with our new mystery lamp in hand, we're able to make our way through the dark area, maneuvering around the enemies' traps and solving the puzzles, which leads us to this weird purple reactor area with multiple entrances on every side that we can't quite fully access yet, but it allows us to move into another area where we throw another coin into the well. In this new area, we also see a switch of what the most common enemies are to these little flying magic guys and these big alligators. But these guys are ultimately all defending the first real boss of the game, the Garden Knight, who was actually kind of difficult. He took me a couple of tries. While making some attempts against the Garden Knight, we actually unlock another achievement, Your Pockets Feel Heavier, which is based on throwing some of the throwables in the game, you get extra copies. Then we found another coin by stepping away for a minute, and we used that to unlock another slot for our little perk things, which we found the perks for the coins. But then finally we actually do manage to chip the Garden Knight down after probably 10 to 15 attempts, maybe. He was a little tricky, but we kill him, which opens up a new path for us, which leads us to the second of the little hit to ring bell tower things, which we hit and unlock another achievement, and we have tied another area back to the starter area. We do a slight double back into the area that we had just finished exploring before the boss and find our third new weapon, a kind of magical ice spear sort of thing that we don't actually end up using all that much. Then, with both bells rung, we can return to the original golden door and finally see what's behind it. We open it up, and then we approach a statue that has 3 symbols on it. And we find out what those symbols are in the next room, where we find red, green, and blue markers. We go upstairs of this building and we find a piece of paper with the key to a lot of things that we've been looking for. We find out that if we hold the A button for 3 seconds near one of these idle things, then we can unlock a new achievement and also open up new areas to progress through. We could have done this at any point. And we find another piece of paper further beyond that we just opened that informs us that we do need to find red, green, and blue keys, one in the forest, one in the sky, and one at the root of the world, which is the next goal. We continue fighting our way through the area, getting a little bit more complicated with the enemies now, getting a lot more health and just a little bit harder to deal with in general, really. But we're able to handle them all right, open up some new areas beyond using the new hold A for 3 buttons mechanic, and we find a second door that we open up by doing the hold A trick, and we get into a new area where we see a gold pad, and we try the hold A for 3 seconds trick, and we learn that it actually takes us to a warp point back into the spirit realm where we were originally when we died, kinda, and we find that it's actually the fast travel in this game that was also hidden from us from the very beginning of the game. But if we move up past this little blue gate, we find the older fox hidden with all of the upgrade items. We make our way back from the spirit world through the checkpoint quick warp, and then we approach the first of the 3 key bosses, the siege engine. This guy was a little tricky. I would say probably less tricky than the Garden Knight, honestly, even though he's probably a harder fight overall, but he didn't take me very many tries. We wear him down pretty quickly, get the kill, and yeah, it's a pretty fun fight. This is kind of your standard Souls-like fight against a boss that's much bigger than you, where it's less about dodging attacks directly and more about strafing around its body, trying to get in hits underneath it where you can. And yeah, it was interesting. It's definitely a different fight from everything else in this game. After we get the kill here, we see this red item fall from the sky, and we actually walk that down to the area that we just passed up with the quick warp, and we can put it into this machine. We'll see it shines red, and the actual key will come out of the ground here slowly. We see it unlocking itself, and then finally, once it's all the way unlocked, it will pull up a little bit more yet, and then it will open up, and we see a red key encased in some shadowy stuff. But we pick it up and get the red key and an achievement for our trouble. So with our new hold A for 3 seconds trick, we go back to one of the fox statues that we saw before, do that, and we warp into another kind of spirit realm called the Hero's Grave that's a little bit different. We see at the top an unreachable item upgrade. We can't do anything with that, so we come back to the real overworld and fight our way past a guardian on a bridge to get to a new area where we run across a really big long bridge over a kind of mining district-y area. We can see mine carts and some train looking things below us, but we can't really make much progress. We just get absolutely decimated every time we try to fight the enemies here, so let's look for something else to do. Using our newly found quick warp method, we can go into the spirit realm and look for a pad that we haven't actually used yet that takes us to the ruined atoll and the library annex. And within this area, we find a ladder down through the head of a frog-shaped rock, which we can explore a little bit into the frog's domain here. A lot of kind of assassin-based frogs that we can take out with a couple of bombs. This is a pretty small area, but it leads to the first of 2 major movement upgrade improvements that we get through this game. This is an item that we add to our quick item use bar, and as you can see there, we can boost ourselves up to different areas. We complete the hold A for 3 seconds trick on another statue and another statue, which opens up a couple of different pathways in the overall of the ruined atoll. And we're about to open up another one. There we go. This area is based on 4 statues in a kind of diagonal pattern. We get another one there. That's all 4. We go back to the central library statue, hold A, and it opens up a portal, but I try to walk in and I'm a little too slow and it forces me out. So I thought that I had to backtrack to do the minecart area first, which is not true, but it works in either direction. So we use our new hook shot to get into the mine area. We open up a new statue area, and then we cross the bridge, and this time we see that we've actually opened up a giant door down in the area below. So some of the statues in this area actually cause a permanent health downgrade until you hit another save point if you go near them, but there's actually a card upgrade that allows you to kind of bypass that mechanic. But if you try to avoid using that card mechanic, as it took me a couple tries to figure out that that's what I was supposed to be using, it's not great. But we make our way through the area with the mask on, and we find a new weapon, the gun. And eventually, after many tries, we find our way back to a little bit of a shortcut point back to the original save statue of this area. But then, after we've come back from there, we can finally make our way through the door at the bottom of the mines. And it's just 3 question marks is the name of this area. So we don't really know what's coming for us. We go down a ladder, we go down another ladder, and then we see a kind of dark version of the fox that we've been encountering, kind of in a shadow. And as we take an elevator down, we see a lot of these shadow fox kind of creatures floating around in the darkness, so we don't really know what that's all about until we get to the next area where we see these shadow foxes being encased in the statues that we hold A on. Continuing to make our way through this area, we get some resistance from some multiplying pink spider guys that absolutely destroy us the first couple of times we encounter them. But we make it through, and eventually we come to an area where we see hundreds, if not more, into thousands or maybe millions of these red, green, blue statues out in the hidden vault that we run past. And we get to probably the hardest boss of this game, I would say. Hardest single boss of this game, maybe. The boss Scavenger. Really the hardest part of facing him, that kick move that he has to get you away, is so annoying. But we do eventually manage to chip him down, and we get the kill with no health potions left and 1 HP. But we do manage to take him out, and then after killing him, we manage to get our second key, the blue key, and the achievement associated with it. We grab it there, achievement pops at the bottom of the world, and we're able to move on. We go back to the ruined atoll, and we go through the portal this time, no problem. And we arrive at the hidden library, which is just a big library for big foxes. But we're a little fox, so we don't really care. We make our way up to the top of it and fight probably the easiest boss of the game. I beat this guy on the first try. The librarian hits me immediately there, but we do manage to chip him down first try. Not super difficult. We get the kill there, and we are able to grab his key from him, which is the green key and the associated achievement at the top of the world. So now that we have the red, green, and blue keys in pocket, we can come back to this room where we originally found out about these keys, and we can undo the locks on each one. Once we've undone all of them, we get the achievement, What Now? Because nothing really seemed to happen when we did that. But we can actually go back to the quick warp, go through the very middle portal, and we find ourselves in a room with the floating fox, but it's not trapped anymore. We can interact with it, and it pulls down a sword and strikes us. So now I guess we're fighting the fox. The air here we can see. We managed to stall it out a little bit, do a little bit of damage, but it does kill us, which is fine. Kind of a scripted death, because we didn't really have our normal stats there. But we get a quick flyover of the world, and now it's nighttime, and we seem to see a lot of ghost foxes floating around. But we zoom in a mirror of the beginning of the game, and we appear to be a ghost in the regular world as well now. We go to the quick warp that's immediately next to our spawn there, but we seem to be in kind of a corrupted version of the spirit world now, and we talk to the foxes. Obviously, they don't prove much help, but they do talk about a fourth key, which is interesting. We make our way around. We see that a lot of the entrances to places we were using before don't really work, but then we do find the ghost cathedral hint from one of the foxes, and we make our way to the old burying ground, which is kind of a cemetery-like area that we push through. We eventually make our way through. We unlock another statue and make our way into another big area, the cathedral, which is a very tough area. But we managed to make our way through fighting little versions of ourselves, not in spirit form actually, just slow-moving regular foxes. We see a crucified shadow fox in one of the areas, but we make our way to another statue that we are able to unlock, and it will pull an elevator up from down below. We see a lot of the regular foxes praying at a shrine there. We take them out, and we take the elevator downstairs. So now that we've gone down one level, why not go down another one? We climb down a ladder, and eventually we hit the bottom where we fall off, and we're in one large room with 7 statues in front of us. These statues hold one each of a lot of the enemies that we've fought throughout the game, and one single heal, and we have to do all of these statues in one single life in order to progress. So we had the frogs, the regular soldier guys, the flying magic guys, some skeletons, some of the mages, and then we also have to fight 2 of the Garden Knights, which teaches you really how to kill those guys, because you have to get them down quite quickly or it becomes a big problem fighting 2. And then eventually, after many tries, this is for sure the hardest fight in the game, we manage to get the 4th key, which is actually really a chest which we can open. It'll give us a little flower crown and an achievement, which is the second of 2 movement mechanics that make this game very cool. We get ourselves a little quick teleport across gaps. Outside, we find another one of these hero burial grounds that we can quick warp into, and now we can cross the barricade to get these cool upgrade items that allow us to get, I believe, I'm not exactly sure what the bonus is that we get, but it makes our stats a lot higher to pick these up, plus you don't have to pay the cost for them. Back in the overworld, we can warp across a gap to find another page to the notebook, which is extremely important. We see a pattern there that is called the Holy Cross, which is another little puzzle to solve, but it opens up a lot of the secrets in this game once you have figured it out. We go back to another hero statue, make our way over and grab, I believe that's the HP upgrade there. We'll need to pick up all of the upgrades to turn our little fox back corporeal. Seems kind of like that's the way to do it. The game's kind of guided us to figuring that out. We pick up our 3rd one there that upgrades our magic stamina, mana if you will. We go find another statue that gives us our max HP buff, and this one will be the attack power buff, where we're just looking around trying to figure out how to maneuver the world without our previous shortcuts, but the dash gives us all the movement that we need. And finally, we can pick up all of the upgrades and we get the Your Body is Restored achievement, and we're no longer a little ghost fox. With a little bit of trial and error, we figure out the Holy Cross referenced on that page of the guide is actually referencing the D-pad of our controller, and if we input that code, it will open some of these walls that are pictured on the left side there, and it gives us a hint to more of the overall puzzles of the game. We come here to the clue that we get from that puzzle, which gives us another clue that we can open, which will show us the location of some other secrets that we need to get, along with a code that we can input there as well. I actually stumbled into another code that wasn't really related to what I was doing. This is one of the many secrets of this game that is achievement based, so we make our way over and get the Mr. Mayor achievement with our new Holy Cross usage. And then we can use this code to find other secrets that we found, which guides us to some of the hidden fairies in this world. Another secret that we can open up, and we get an achievement for freeing our first fairy. But now we get to go through the process of freeing all of the fairies. I believe there's 10 in total. Each of the fairies, you input the little code to guide you to the area, and then you get to do another little puzzle to solve some of them. These first couple are all fairly easy. Here we unlock another item that I completely missed, the hourglass that freezes time, and then right behind that is another fairy puzzle. But yeah, we're going through the easy puzzles here, nothing super difficult, mostly just tracing a pattern. But then eventually we'll get to a point where I had to start looking them up. We're still good here on this one. It's just tracing the flowers that are on the ground. This one was just tracing the guy as he moved around, nothing too difficult there. Then we return to the fairy fountain that we found, and we actually have a note left for us that gives us a clue for another secret later on, and also one of the fairies happened to be right there behind it. This one I had to look up. It's related to that direction compass thing there that I didn't quite understand. This one was making me kind of sick to look at, so I looked it up. This one is based on different pieces of a monument around the map that's insanely difficult. And then this one's another easy, just trace the pattern on the ground. This one is another flower-based direction puzzle. This one is another kind of tracing puzzle. This one is based on the movement of the fox in ghost form. And then this one actually took me the most tries, even though it's quite easy. Another just simply count the candles based one. And eventually, once we've got all of them, we can collect an achievement for collecting all of the little guys. We flip enough coins into the well that we get an achievement for flipping, I believe it was 15 in. And now it's secret hunting time. We go find one of these big statue-looking guys. We find one that looks like us, a little fox guy. And this windmill one is very difficult. Sacred geometry, very confusing, but we got there. This one taunted me for so long in this game. I could not figure out how to do it, and it's kind of a trick shot with the ice and the grapple gun. We make our way up and get the crown, Regal Weasel. That one felt really good to get. Make our way to find a piggy bank for Too Cute to Smash, for collecting 15 piggy banks without smashing them. Find another little secret there. This was a really simple secret that I just couldn't find, for cleaning up piles of leaves. This wind chime based one I definitely would not have found without looking up. And then we have, this one was pretty easy. It was just hidden out in the spirit world, out beyond our quick warp. And after we found all of those, we make our way up to the mountain pass and do another super difficult puzzle that I won't get into, which gives us the last page, or well, the first page of the instruction booklet, which gives us another achievement. We push a couple skulls into a pile, just a couple dudes hanging out there, and get an achievement. Here we have an achievement based on turning your master volume all the way down to 0% and going AFK for a couple minutes. And then when you come back, you check the booklet and you have another hint that gives us this little TV secret unlock. And finally, once you have all of those collected onto their pedestal, you can go into a world with an insane puzzle that I am not smart enough to solve, but it leads you to a website and a sound file, and it's crazy stuff. So now we've collected all of the secrets and completed all of the pages of the guidebook, which actually kind of makes a mistake. We go to the final fight here with the adult fox. They draw their sword, but we hold up the completed guidebook to show the fox, which is actually kind of part of the secret ending of this game, which allows us to bypass getting the final showdown with the fox here, which actually, fun fact, does not proc the achievement for killing the fox and completing the game. So we will need to redo the whole game and get the kill on the fox, because we go through and make it to New Game Plus here. But we do get to see the true quote-unquote ending of this game, where the adult fox glimpses upon our completed guidebook that we've managed to put together, and we see they're changed back from the glowing spirit fox to be just a kind of grown-up version of us, which is super cool. So we've managed to restore that fox, and then we go to the credits, where we get some cool scenes of us and our new fox friend hanging out, going on adventures around the world. We get to the end screen, no achievement procs for beating the game, but we get New Game Plus. So we go into New Game Plus, we proc one of the 3 achievements we missed here, whoops, for freezing ourselves. And then we play through the entire game, where we get into a fight with the Spirit Fox here, and we actually get a kind of crazy build going here, where we do more damage the less health we have. And we get into, this is a 2-stage fight, pretty standard stuff for endgame bosses, but we're on 1 HP, and we stagger him over and over and just straight melt him. Go back and watch that. It's insane how fast we killed him. Like, he didn't even get to do a move. But anyway, I just thought that was kind of cool. We get the kill on the fox here in New Game Plus, and the fox, instead of transforming back, actually ascends up into the sky. We see red, blue, and green light force kind of be sucked out of the fox, I guess. The fox kind of dissolves here into blue lights as well, kind of firefly-like. I guess. And then we can see why this isn't the quote-unquote true ending, because we fade out and we fade back in on us, Little Fox in spirit form, and we're about to see ourselves get trapped in one of the same locked 3-section locks, red, green, and blue spirit cube things as the fox that we've been trying to rescue this whole time were. And yeah, that's the end of the game you get if you don't do all of the secrets. You get locked in the vault and theoretically transferred back to the start of the game to be rescued by somebody else. But there we go. We get the game over achievement. And then there's one achievement left to get that we go get in a new world for collecting the gun before collecting the sword. So just to wrap up here with some closing thoughts, I think Tunic was an absolutely amazing game. Very excited to see what this studio, what this developer does next. I hope it's something a lot like this. I think it's really interesting the way that you could do most of the game pretty much right from the beginning if you understood, you know, the Holy Cross, the Golden Cross, and, you know, the hold A for 3 seconds on certain items to unlock pathways, that sort of thing. But you do need to play a fair amount of the game through a second time to beat it, as I learned going through those extra playthroughs that I needed to do. But yeah, it's a great game. Only very positive reviews overall on Steam, both recent and as a whole. I don't think this game has had many updates since launch, though, so that's not super surprising. I'm surprised it's not overwhelmingly positive, honestly. I heard very good things about this game when it released last year, 2022. Just a great little game. You might have noticed towards the end there that got going pretty quick on, you know, flipping through, finding all of the secrets. That's just, there's so many secrets in this game. HowLongToBeat.com has a 100% run completionist playthrough of this game, sitting at about 21 and a half hours. I finished at about 20.3 hours, as you can see there. So pretty much accurate there. I was a little quicker, but I did. I looked up about I think 4 or 5 of the puzzles I just wasn't getting, so didn't want to take too much time to work on those, though. And then I looked up locations for a couple, because towards the end there, I was trying to clean everything up before I finished the game so that I wouldn't have to do a second playthrough. But, you know, ended up needing to do 2 full playthroughs anyway. But that's all right. Not a super big deal. Yeah, great stuff. All of those secrets. If you're somebody that likes Souls-like games, you know, Zelda games, sort of Metroidvania elements at certain points, and you like the puzzle solving. I mean, you've watched the video at this point, so maybe some of the lightning's out of the bottle. I don't think that's the right term, but you know, maybe some of the surprises are a little messed up for you there. But I can't recommend this game enough. Great game. Yeah, I'll definitely play a follow-up if they end up going that direction with it. And I think it was pretty successful, so I imagine they probably will. But yeah, great game, highly recommend, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. So yeah, thanks for sticking with me for this 100%, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.